Hey guys, it's Matthew here once again, bringing back a build slash skill, which is one of my favorites in recent times, and that is Ice Spear. Now, I have played Ice Spear as a Deadeye for a starter build last league, and it went incredibly well, and it was a starter I recommended this league as well. This time around, though, I wanted to try and bring a bit of a different spin to it in the form of a new ascendancy. And by new I mean extremely old but underplayed Trickster. So the main reason for going Trickster here is to try and fill out more of what the build could possibly have in a different way, and that is some evasion, some energy shield, and be more of a mana based character, so you're not using Eldritch Battery. And it ended up working out pretty well, at least thus far. It is Eternity Shroud based, which means that I'm trying to squeeze out a bit of extra damage from the skill by using some cold to fire conversion and wear as much shaped gear as possible, so that you then have a lot of extra chaos damage, and it also ignores enemy chaos resists. Eternity Shroud is very cheap at the time, so I figured it's something I could easily try and do. The only expensive, or pretty expensive thing, is trying to get a shaped snake pit, and at the time when I bought it, it was 3 exalts, but chancing them is pretty realistic. All the sapphire rings are fairly easy to chance. A few hundred chances probably per attempt, and it's just like a 1 in 4 as to which one you're going to get, because they're supposedly weighted equally. So it's not impossible to try and copy the build like this, but I'm still not 100% sure it's worth it. We'll have to wait and see. Essentially, so far, compared to the Deadeye Ice Spear that I did last league, which was a starter build, this currently has twice as much damage and twice as much EHP, and its recovery is really nice thanks to Ghost Shrouds. So up till level 91 throughout all my mapping, 92 actually even I think, didn't die. It was just really smooth and comfortable playstyle, just a bit of positioning problems and some prox bubble assholeness. But otherwise it's been pretty smooth, and Ice Spear is, as I remember it, very smooth and clean playstyle. Now, if I invested a similar amount of money to my Deadeye, I'd probably have about the same damage and maybe about the same EHP, but the recovery will be entirely based off if you get life gain on hit rings. I think ultimately this is maybe still a bit of a meme version, just because it's going to cost a bit more money and a bit more headache to put together thanks to Eternity Shroud, whereas you could save yourself all that pain and just do a conventional Ice Spear through the Deadeye form. With similar money, you'd probably get similar output, maybe even more, and should be able to take on the game. But wanted to try and bring Trickster into the light a bit, and it's been kind of worth it. Kind of. So it's definitely not the wrong move to play a Trickster on this sort of build, but it's not necessarily the right one either. So fixing mana is a bit of an issue, but the way I've managed to do that is using the Trickster node for 30% chance to get 10% of your mana back to you when you use any skill, and then I've also used a Clarity Watcher's Eye for another 15% chance. So essentially I have pretty much no mana regen or anything like that, but you can see that my mana spikes up thanks to mana on kill, but then during single target as well, I have a 45% chance when I do anything to bring 10% of my mana back. And so far that has proved to be pretty good mana sustain. The big problem is that divine blessings and shit like that are just free real estate these days, and this having mana just makes it so much harder to do, so you are basically doing it at sort of a cost, and Eldritch Battery is just quite a bit nicer in achieving maximum output on a character right now. That said, I am a low life build, so I've got 50% life and I'm using the low life keystone, and then have to fix the chaos issue by just having capped chaos res and then the mastery that prevents some chaos getting through to your life and instead being absorbed by energy shield. That does mean I can go low life and then have a good nice energy shield barrier over my life with the ghost shrouds and a lot of evasion, meaning that my recovery is pretty solid. So that's something that I wouldn't otherwise have on Deadeye variant, but yet to take on too much endgame to see how it's truly going to hold up. Otherwise, yeah, it's Ice Spear. It's been very fun. If you've never tried Ice Spear, highly recommend it, at least in a cast on crit format or something like that. The new MTX is really nice as well, Void Emperor, and it even chills enemies in a sort of pinkish hue, so it's very well made, nice MTX. Otherwise, regular Ice Spear, non-MTX, still looks amazing as well. So with all that said, I suppose I do now want to show you what the character looks like, how it's been built, and just one small piece of single target that we've done so far. But yeah, let me just go ahead and show you the character so far. So here is the character, level 92 Trickster, called Cheap Rings build, and the joke there was that I was going to use a shaped snake pit and a shaped pyre. It ends up being that I only needed a shaped snake pit, and even then, you don't need it. It's just that for bosses, you'd need to swap on a shaped ring instead of a snake pit if you aren't using a shaped snake pit in this setup. Which isn't a big deal, I suppose, because you don't have to have the chain on bosses, but it's more comfortable to have Snake Pit full-time, long-term anyway. So if you've never seen Eternity Shroud, once again, gains 5 LE damage as extra chaos per shaper item equipped. So you can have 10 items, I believe, equipped, and if that's 10 of them, that's 50 LE as chaos, and then hits also ignore enemy monster chaos res if all your items are shaped. So if one of your rings isn't shaped, then it's going to be a bit of a DPS decrease against anything that has chaos res. But the other special thing about all this is this LE as chaos goes off of each individual stage of your elemental damage. So if you start out with 100 lightning and then get 50 LE as chaos, great, you got 50 LE as chaos. If you go 100 lightning converted to 100 cold, you then get 50 LE, 50 of your lightning as chaos and 50 of your cold as chaos as well. So the biggest thing is to basically go lightning to cold to fire conversion so that all 3 stages get a bunch of chaos. And as you can see, currently my build has 7 to 11,000 chaos damage, 6 to 9 fire, and 2 to 4 cold, because I'm running a cold to fire that converts 60% of my cold into fire. So the idea was to also do a pyre ring in the end with shaped influence, so that I'm fully converted, but it doesn't really matter. As far as I could tell in my path of building, it's like a few extra percent DPS here or there, but a shaped ring would, just fill out a few other nice things that I need it to do, and it means I don't have to shape a pyre. So if you just get a bunch of sapphire rings and chance orb them, scale them, you'll come across a snake pit eventually if you really want to go down this route. It shouldn't be too hard, but you'll come across some of the other rings that are shaped as well. Either way, Eternity Shroud, usually a pretty good thing to use for builds on the high end, and I usually use it as a sort of min-maxing DPS tool, and it's worked out well enough so far on this character. So as far as the other shaped stuff is concerned, I pretty much crafted all of it myself, grabbed a shaped wand and just used Essences of Woe, Essences of Misery, had like 5 wands and then just started recombinating, just crappy ones together, and the best one that's happened was this one. So just Elia's Chaos as well, and then cast speed and a essence mod on there. So it shouldn't be too hard to make some sort of realistic ones with recombinators especially. Grabbed a shield, which I really wanted some extra socket reserve with, and also some suppress, because I'm trying to cap suppress on this character. Once again, recombinated my way through to victory, and the suffixes are basically what the important thing is here, just those 2 specific suffixes, and then you take all the other extra bonus shit if you can get it, and that's what we landed on. Amulet, recombinated my way to victory here with just a few amulets, or 2 amulets I think even, hardly had to craft at all. Plus all cold, some crit multi, got some evasion as well, which is pretty nice. Had a fat cast speed roll on there, that got deleted, but otherwise pretty nice amulet. Then just grabbed an Ice Spear hat, which is shaped, and rolled it to do some resistance shit, nothing too special. But you can do very insane shaped hats these days, especially with recombinators, that you could transfer your 6 link into instead to have like a 4 link that turns into a sort of pseudo 8 link. Picked up a belt off the market, 100C, just has some cast speed, some chaos res, and shaped crystal, since I'm trying to stack a bit of energy shield. Recombinated a few gloves together just so I can get cast speed and strength on a glove. It has to be shaped, of course, and then I think I recombinated like a boot, or actually I think this time around I was just crafting with Chaos Res essences, and I was just trying to get spell suppress, and then I finished off the prefixes with a suffix canopy change and a veiled chaos orb. And that's what we've got for the entire character, basically. So nothing too serious in terms of gear, but you know, it takes a bit of starting capital to put this stuff together, and it's got currently 17 million DPS with everything up at the same time. So it's not super reliable 17 million, but a lot of the time it will be. And double the EHP of the previous character that I did for Ice Spear, because we've got 3.3 thousand energy shield, 2.2 thousand life, and then our ghost shrouds are coming back at something like what did I turn off that? Something like 1,000 ES at a time every time I get hit. And as you can see, I've got 98 spell suppress, not quite cap, but who's keeping track? A bunch of evasion, decent bit of energy shield, and on top of that, also did grab a ascendancy jewel from the saboteur for Born in the Shadows. So it's a huge, it like doubled my EHP almost for blinding enemies on hit, and then also having them deal reduced damage. So I could have taken some damage things, which would have been like 10%, 20% damage increase from the assassin, from the saboteur, but this almost doubled my EHP, and I thought, fuck it, may as well get a bit of defense in the build. So I got Born in the Shadows, and it's cost like 50C to combine. Otherwise, things of note, as I mentioned, my Clarity watches, and then the Shadow Ascendancy, Trickster Ascendancy is what keeps my mana afloat. So it's currently at like 84 mana per cast, but as you can see, like it'll just spike back up, and if you get a bad streak of not proccing that shit, you can still definitely go but it doesn't happen too often. Otherwise, we've got Swift Killer for a bit of extra power charges and shit, using Escape Artist for some EHP, and then since I'm already stacking that Chaos and ignoring enemy Chaos Res, that's where Harness the Void isn't too bad. So the passive tree just goes around, grabs some, I don't know, hybrid style shit and some aura stuff. I got an intuitive leap over here just for a whole bunch of stuff, a little bit of ES and all that, so mana. And I did want this mastery to begin with, so here, and then you can get 10% chance to recover skill, and then that basically would mean I'd almost never run out of mana with like 55% chance, but didn't seem super necessary in the end, so I haven't gotten it. This is what helps chaos damage not get through your energy shield as well. I got the ghost shrouds, just reservation and shit. And then that's how we get our frenzies up on enemies, sniper mark, frenzy, etc. And power charges, I'm just going to have a power charge on crit. Currently it's attached to Hydrosphere, which is nice for clear, but for single target it probably won't do very much. So I'll grab a Stormbrand for single target, and that's how I'll keep up power charges as well. Likewise, thanks to this node over here, I mean I can just grab like a Winter Orb or some shit and channel it before I start a fight, and that will give me all my charges before I go in. The current links are Ice Spear, Cold to Fire, Greater Multiple Projectiles, Anomalous version, so they can get reduced mana cost, Spell Echo, crit damage, and Awaken Cold, that's for single target, but for clear, I do run Awakened Chain support. Now the important thing about that, and this, is that prior to getting a Snake Pit while leveling with Ice Spear, it does feel kind of bad, because you cannot chain once it starts piercing. Pierce always takes precedence, and thus your clear is going to be like very just straight line. So you can level with Winter instead, or you can just kind of lean into that entire pierce lifestyle, because chain won't really be worth running until you get a Snake Pit. So yeah, just swap that out for single target, but otherwise using Awakened Chain we get a lot of chains, and the clear is pretty good because of that. I've got my Herald of Ice attached to my life bar thanks to Arrogance, Herald of Ice, and Clarity, and that does just give the build quite a nicer feel to crunch and have a good MTX, but don't think it's super necessary. It's just something that I needed to do to put onto my life so I can go low life. Otherwise we have Shield Charge, Faster Attacks, Defiance Banner, using a Wither Totem setup, since so much of my damage is going to be Chaos based. Wither Totem is just increasing the enemy Chaos damage taken pretty nicely, and then I needed this 30% just so I could have a bit more mana unreserved, and that's why I've got Grace, Hatred, and Discipline in here. So it would have been lovely to get a Divine Blessing and attach like Zealotry as well, but I'm not allowed to do that because I'm mana based, so yay, punished for playing the game the way it's kind of originally supposed to be played. And that's about it. Just got Diamond Flask, Silver Flask, Dying Sun. So Dying Sun's a huge extra output, but won't be up all the time. 2 additional proj, and yeah, feels pretty good. As far as my character cosmetics, just Void Emperor, trying to go with the theme of Void Emperor, Poly on wings, and then Divergent character effect. Hopefully I've got some good news and a nice little end game bossing video for you next. It should be decent for bossing, thanks to all my DPS, EHP, mobility, all of that, but we'll have to wait and see. So far, I don't know. Ice Spear, I love it. Play the Deadeye version if you want something cheaper. Otherwise, you can pretty much do any variant. Inquisitor, Occultist, Elementalist, Assassin, whatever the fuck, just Ice Spear. Thank you very much for watching. See you guys next time.